All right. Welcome back to the meat of the matter. It is the boys and I. That is Peter. He is Mark. I'm Tony. And we have a very special guest that we're going to talk to today. His name is Byron Funck, and he's at Carnivore Beats on TikTok and on social media. We're absolutely delighted to have you today, Byron. Thanks for coming. How are we doing, everybody?
I'm doing very well. How are you
Great.
guys doing today?
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to hear all about Byron's story. So, Byron, if we want to just give you the floor and lead us off and let us know about your carnivore journey and how you got here.
Okay. Tony, thanks guys for inviting me. I'll just start from the beginning. Years ago, obviously I was overweight and basically had to make a change to obviously make, when you have to tie your shoelaces and your stomach gets in the way, it becomes a problem. So basically ended up losing 30 kilos, and that was just by changing my nutrition and walking every day. No gym, just walking and exercising, just walking and basically changing nutrition, like adding more protein into the diet. So then I realized obviously nutrition has a big effect on the body, and then studied and became a personal trainer. And through that journey, that's when Professor Tim Noakes' essay came out about the low carb, high fat diet and how carbs weren't that good for us, and he was wrong, and all the bad science over that time. So we ended up changing our lifestyle to a low carb, high fat diet / keto, and lived like that for about 8 years. And then we basically moved to Ireland. And then a few years or a couple of years later, especially after the pandemic, then got ill, had to be off work, and spent a week in the hospital, went for scans, blood tests, and basically I was permanently dizzy, and all my symptoms basically tied up to what you would call dysautonomia. And that's even an umbrella, like I was saying to Mark before, that's an umbrella of symptoms that is hard to diagnose. And some people you can have a look, take 2, 3, even 4 years for the medical professions to diagnose anything properly. So they couldn't find anything. And by the time I got to see the neurologist, I was back at work, and basically all my dizziness was gone. And that was after coming across the carnivore diet. It was just through prayer and trying to find, okay, how can we solve these health issues if the doctors can't, or no diagnosis. And we came across that Michaela Peterson and her story, and knowing that nutrition obviously was the key factor to potentially the body healing itself. Then we obviously came across Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Baker and all of the rest of the gang that are online. So we said, well, let's try that. And 30 days after going carnivore, my dizziness disappeared. My body started improving. My neurological symptoms that I was having, and that started fading as well. And then I was able to return back to work after almost a year. With regards to obviously continuing it, the body's just obviously getting better. I'm not 100%. I'd say probably like 98 or 99% better. There's still a slight few issues because at the same time, I was diagnosed with obviously low red blood cells. And that obviously affects like oxygen and all the other stuff. And even when exercising, it feels like you've done like double the work type stuff. So just obviously continuing eating like this and then carrying on exercise, that all improved. And we definitely knew that, and looking at a lot of the research and the other stuff and other people's stories of healing situations that were supposedly unhealable, it was like, it doesn't make sense to not follow the diets if you've got any, especially if you've got any autoimmune issues. So that's been our lifestyle for almost the last year and a half type thing. And my wife's a type 2 diabetic. So she's also found improvements when we went on the low carb initially. And obviously with type 2 diabetics, like my wife's been off work as well, also similar issues what I had, except without the neurological issues that I had. And with that, doing the diet, that's also helped her slowly improve now over time. It's also helped improve her sugars. It's helped her go off her blood medication tablets that she used to be on. And even her diabetes tablets have been reduced. So definitely the nutrition and the carnivore lifestyle does help. We've seen that obviously the benefits that it's had physically. So when people keep asking, oh, and what about veg and what about this? It's like you start to realize, we've been living like this for over a year. We haven't had any stomach issues, no bloating, and that's without fiber. So it's like, well, before when we're having fiber, as an example, you were having stomach issues. There was even bloating with having that in your diet, and obviously veg, and then even maybe constipation. So there's none of that ever since obviously leaving that. Like once the body's like changed on its fuel system and eating this way, which is fantastic. And like to live with no stomach issues, no bloating, no any of that type of stuff. It's like, well, then is fiber really needed? And obviously, clearly, physically, and from other people's stories that have been eating like this for 15 years, 8 years, 10 years, all those other stories, fiber is not essential, which obviously we now know. So it's definitely helped myself and my wife. I'd say it's not, obviously we know it's not easy, especially in the beginning, but once you've adapted and the taste buds have changed, you don't crave all those other things anymore. You crave meat. You crave like the taste of egg. It's like to have a steak and egg is like, oh man, the mouth waters for that type of thing. But if you're still having obviously some of the other stuff in your diet, you'll crave other things. Or like if you feel like you're craving something, what we found is obviously then, okay, have a bit more salt water and the cravings subside. Another trick that we found obviously through that story that Dr. Anthony Chaffee shared with the doctor in the 1800s that used to heal people just with mince.
Salisbury.
Yeah, that's it. The Salisbury steak is what I was thinking of there. That was fascinating, reading what was written about all that and all his findings. So one thing we implemented from there, which helps us out and definitely has an impact on during the day, because like I was telling Mark before, obviously coffee is something that I enjoy, even though we used to have bulletproof coffee, and I'll still have that now and then, but I'm like on and off coffee. But I know for me physically, I have to stop coffee because it does affect me neurologically. And I can feel that if I have one coffee a day and I keep having the salt water and obviously increasing my salt intake, I feel that it doesn't have too much of an effect on me. But I do know that I need to stop it like permanently.
And can I just ask a quick question, Byron? Do you feel that that's that last 1% to make sure you're 100% that's what you need to remove permanently?
I believe so.
Yeah, I
and
do
that's
as well.
purely because when I've been off coffee like for a few weeks, there's like Dr. Chaffee talks about you feel that extra 5% type better. I know for a fact that when I've stopped coffee for a couple of weeks, there's a clarity in the mind. The body just feels to run that more optimum. So I felt that physically. So I know that it's definitely something that I have to obviously, I would say if I had coffee once a month or once every 2 months, like if you sat somewhere or whatever, I don't think it would have such an effect on the body because it's not like you're having it. But when you're having it consistent, I can feel there's a difference between having it as a daily drink, even though it's once a day. And if I have coffee, let's say I have 3 or 4 cups in a day, and I only drink obviously the black coffee with butter, or I might have a little bit of cream once a day, because I know obviously the cream overall is not that fantastic. But even having that coffee once a day, I can feel I'm having coffee. it's obviously not, those that have stopped coffee will understand it, but those that are still drinking coffee won't, and they won't understand that difference. It's like trying to tell someone as well, eat carnivore, and you're going to feel such a difference. And like I was telling Mark, I was sharing with a guy that I used to work with not so long ago, and he was suffering with knee pain after he played soccer. And when I mentioned to him how the carnivore could help it, and I said, look, potentially try it. There's probably a lot of inflammation around your knee, and instead of going, potentially spending or going for an unnecessary operation, it's worth just trying and seeing. And then obviously the side effect is you're going to lose a bit of weight and your knee's going to feel better. So, because he used to come hobbling to work the next day after going to practice or playing a game. And obviously after his body had adapted a bit, and a few weeks, even I think within 3 weeks, he said 2 to 3 weeks, he could feel the difference straight away. And he wasn't hobbling anymore, coming back after practice and that to work the next day. His knee was like totally better after about 6 to 7 weeks. He was like, no more pain. He could just, he like still used to smile and laugh at me. Like he says, he can't believe it. Like it's some magic thing type thing. And he obviously stays eating that way now, where he'll keep the carbs down, the veg right down, all that. Because obviously he's got small kids and a wife that still likes her food. But he felt the benefits, and you look at everybody else online. So you definitely know that there's a difference, because like I said before, when I've stopped coffee for weeks, like 2 weeks or so in a row, you can feel the body operates differently. And it's to explain to someone that hasn't been there, obviously they're going to think you're talking like spook stories type thing, ghost stories. But I have felt mentally and physically there is a difference. I know it's something I have to look at permanently giving up, and just obviously all the oxalates in it.
I think you already know that you'll manage to do it, right? There's this conviction that at some point you'll eliminate coffee. That's what I feel in how you're speaking about it.
100%, because I know I have to. I mean, I even tried like saying, okay, well, let's go decaf. But then you look at the research of decaf to help you get off the caffeine even. And the research on it's better to probably drink caffeinated coffee than decaf coffee because of the process.
I believe that's true too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because of the chemical process that they do makes it even worse on the decaf. So yeah, it's definitely something I need to look at giving up permanently. And obviously I've been on and off, and I know I've felt the difference because I've obviously attempted to look at doing it permanently. So it is something that hopefully maybe in the next month or two where I won't be having to touch another cup. And that's where that whole thing of that Salisbury steak and that doctor came in, is that adding the hot water. So I'd boil kettle like at work. I don't have coffee at work anymore. I have stopped that permanently. But I'll boil water and I'll pour that in a cup and drink it like as if I'm going to have. I presume everybody thinks I'm drinking coffee, but when they see
I gotta try that. That might get me off coffee finally.
It makes a huge difference, because if I have that, it's almost like tricking the brain. Okay, especially in Ireland when it's winter time, you drink hot water as if you're drinking coffee, but it's just plain water, and you're obviously having a normal bottle of water with salt in it. So between those two, I even don't feel hungry, because the hot water, obviously through his research, shows that it helps obviously with the stomach, cleanse that, and even if you do it like an hour before food, it helps with digestion, and then hour after eating as well. But when I have hot water in the morning like that, and I'm having my salt water, I feel satisfied. Like I don't even crave coffee. I don't even that was one trick that I implemented into my daily routine that makes a huge difference.
Sounds good. I think I should try that.
May I ask how your diet looks like right now? Because I assume that you are following quite a clean diet if you're able to pinpoint a specific thing like coffee right now.
Well, when other people in our circle hear what we eat, they look at us as if we're not normal. But I only eat basically meat and eggs and butter. That's all we eat. This last week or two, we've had a little bit of prawns with our steak or with a lamb, but I prefer red meat because I crave the red meat and I crave the eggs. So some nights we'll have like 2 eggs and 2 steaks, or a lamb and some prawns, like we've tried now the last couple of weeks, just to, if you want to make it a bit differently. But 98% of the time I'm eating steak, either 2 steaks by itself and butter, like 2 small blocks of butter, or I'll have 2 steaks, 2 eggs, and 2 blocks of butter. For lunch, I just have steaks and butter, and then salt water, and that during the day. It's 2 meals a day. So it's either going to be, I'll either have boiled eggs sometimes for lunch, like 4 boiled eggs and 4 small blocks of butter, the salt water, and then at night I have 2 steaks and 2 eggs, or just 2 steaks, ribeye steaks, because we mainly eat ribeye. And then now and then it'll be lamb or like ribs of lamb type thing, just to obviously have a bit of that fat with the meat. But that's purely all we eat is 2 meals a day, and that's it.
It's not very strange in this company, I'll tell you. You know.
Yeah, no.
I think you're fitting right in, my man. I think you're fitting right in.
and you feel, I mean, you feel great. You can feel how your mind, you can think clearer. So if I lack sleep and don't get enough sleep, I feel that you can obviously then crave a little bit. And then it's obviously, that's where like having that cup of hot water and having enough drink salt water makes a big difference in not craving anything. Mm-hmm. It definitely makes a difference like that. But in the beginning, obviously it's not easy because you can still crave a lot of the stuff. Like my wife and I, when I was a trainer, we used to make chocolate as well, like small chocolate bars, and we created that especially because we wanted to have something back then where clients were wanting something sweet, but they'd go buy like the cracked chocolate. So we came up with where we used organic cacao powder, blocks of chocolate and the butter, and we used to make our own chocolate and sell it at the coffee shops and at the gym. But we had no like normal sugar or sweetener in there. It was all organic, natural stuff. So it was like, we used to call it like guilt-free chocolate. So people could have it, and it was not too big, but big enough that they enjoyed it. So that, like, chocolate I still would like once in a blue moon, but I know, like, if I have a small bit of, say, Lindt chocolate, I know what's coming the next day. And my body tells me, and I'm like, yeah, that just tells you how you need to stay on the lifestyle. So I also find it kind of good to almost have those odd things once in a while to remind yourself why this lifestyle is beneficial, because you can feel the poison. And even now, like, I can walk in a shop and walk past the sweets and I don't crave the sweets at all. Like, I can really just, where before it used to be, I have to have something now. But now that the taste buds are changed and you don't have those cravings anymore, it's like you're more, hey, I just want a nice piece of steak and egg, especially with the feeling the yolk of the egg. If it's like soft on the meat, it's like, it's a total.
We're going to get along fine.
And the thing is as well, like, what I think a lot of people don't realize as well, like, I mean, obviously your people that aren't on carnivore, is that your taste buds adapt to what you're eating. And they don't always give it enough time for your taste buds to adjust according to what you're eating. So, like, if they switch over for 1 week, but they still crave all the stuff, they're like, oh. But once you've given that time for your taste buds to adapt and change, once you've been eating, say, carnivore for a while, you can feel you don't crave all that stuff anymore. And then finding those odd things, it's made it easier. And definitely that trick of drinking the hot cup of hot water and obviously the salt water makes a huge difference, especially during winter.
It's Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
I think, you know, what people overlook and what you're saying there, like with the taste buds and stuff, is, you know, I do believe our modern food systems have hijacked that ability, because they basically, we're not getting nourished. And now what you're sort of saying, it's taste, but it's, I think, in my opinion, it's your body craves the nourishment and it senses that. So all those things, I feel the same way with egg yolks. Like, some days I'm like, am I like really enjoying this runny egg yolk too much? Like I could just drink this. Like it's pretty crazy. And you know, it's interesting how that starts to change and it starts to take over. And I see this.
I'm the very, very same. Like I do be looking at my food every day and I'm saying like, I'm eating the same food every day. How can I still enjoy this? All I'm doing is I'm eating a steak. I'm eating ground beef. I'm eating fats pretty much every day. And I'm like, how can I just eat this every day? And it gets nicer. Whereas before, when I used to go shopping, I'd have to pick something. I'd have to go into the shop and look around and look at what I'm going to eat today. Whereas now I have no problem eating a steak every single day. I actually enjoy it. Every single night when I'm having my dinner, I have the same food and I enjoy it every single night. Every single night. And I never had that at the very, very beginning. And I can understand what Byron is saying, because this is one thing that people just don't get, is that when they try the carnivore diet, they do it for 2 months and then they're like, it's not working for me. I still have those cravings. I couldn't get rid of my cravings. It took me nearly 4 months to get rid of my cravings. I couldn't adapt to this diet for at least 4 or 5 months. It took me a long time.
Well, that's it's wild, because like what Byron you're explaining too is everybody looks at this from their own perspective. And I mean, I thought when we first started, like we all started this for 30 days and then, 4 years later for me, but that perspective, because it's like, how can these people just eat steak all the? I could never do that. And until you do, and until you feel it, like that's, I think is a big, it's indescribable, because you can't comprehend it unless you do it.
Exactly.
Well, even a better example is organ meat, and one that you hear a lot is beef liver. And for me, the same in the beginning. I didn't like it. I always cooked it, which is even worse, of course. That's what I know now. But it took me half a year or one year probably, and some way naturally my taste buds changed, and now I like beef liver so much. It tastes like chocolate. So if I take it from the freezer, especially, it's chocolate ice, because it is sweet, and this sweetness, you don't notice it when you're not a carnivore. Yeah. And you're used to all that extreme sweetness from processed foods and fruits and that sort of things.
Exactly.
Do you eat liver, Byron, or?
No,
not yet.
Yeah, no. Organs. We haven't done any of that yet. Obviously, it's something that I'm wanting to try once in a while, especially to help with the red blood cell count. But I haven't. I mean, I haven't even bothered about trying to go for any blood test to see any difference or marker, because I can feel it. I don't need blood tests to tell me I feel better. And at the same time, I know that the physician that we see as well, when they see, I know the cholesterol will obviously be higher. When they see it, they're going to want to like talk about this and that, because you hear it all. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm feeling better. I can feel it when I'm exercising, because I only train 3 times a week. And before, I used to say try do 3 sets, but by the time I get to the 3rd set, it feels like I've done 10 sets. Where now I can feel like I can do, at the moment, even now, I'll do like maybe even 6, 7, 8 sets of a certain routine in that, and I'm still got energy and I still feel good. So I know straight away that the body's made a huge difference and improvement already, and it's still improving all the time. Like, there's times where it's like, okay, I need to go exercise now because I can feel the energy, and then I'll go and train and put the music on and exercise. And it's like, when you feel like that, that the body's improving. It's like,
and it's amazing. It's amazing when we used to get those DOMs the next day, we'd be in bits, we wouldn't be able to recover. Now you're waking up the next day, and like you said, you're ready to go again. It's like, I've done a heavy leg session yesterday, but I could easily do it again today.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when I first heard Anthony Chafee talking about like how he doesn't suffer with DOMs anymore, and I'm like, okay, I know, because even as a personal trainer, you learned about this, and 2 days later you would be sore. And then he spoke about and that's where coffee also triggered me, is that he spoke about how he had a cup of coffee with a friend at a coffee shop the one time, and within an hour or so, something to that effect, he could feel his muscles starting to seize up in that. And when I heard that, I thought, I related back to that later, because I know that through doing some exercises, after being on the carnivore for a while, I never felt that DOMS that they all talk about. Like you can feel like your muscles have worked a little bit, but you never had that soreness of normal DOMS when you were on a high carb diet before. And that like made me think, okay, well, why is that? Because obviously it's got related to inflammation. And then knowing after doing exercise and even later on the one time I think I had a cup of coffee as well, and there was something else that I had to eat. And within a few hours, I could feel my muscles getting sore and like stiff, that almost like that DOMS type feeling. And I was like, wow, obviously it can't be fake and it can't be all these false things online. It's like you can physically feel what you're putting into your body is making a difference. And at the same time, like when we're talking about the taste buds, when you're eating stuff that you used to enjoy, you can actually taste almost like a chemical taste, and you can taste things that just aren't satisfactory anymore. And you're like, wow, clearly now that the taste buds have been changing over time and your body's adapted, you can taste all these little things in some of the stuff, and you can like, oh, I don't know how I enjoyed that before.
No kidding. That's any, like, you know, I often tell people, you know, because we compare ourselves to broken. We compare ourselves to everything that we used to do. We're in uncharted territory. We're in uncharted territory with RDAs, mineral requirements, energy, muscular development. Like, I mean, when you're coming from an athlete and a trainer who's saying like, I don't get sore anymore, people are like, whatever. That's just you. And it's really hard to explain that collectively, 4 of us now feel the same thing. Like, you know, it's amazing when I'm in a gym and I crush a workout heavy, and I'm like, not only could I keep doing this with, you know, once I get a little rest, but I have to force myself to stop because I don't know where the limit is anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, holy Christ, I could be training in the gym for 2 hours and just keep the energy just keeps coming back. It's wild.
Speaking as a fellow PT, Byron, because I've done PT as well. I used to work in gyms for years. I was teaching clients for years in gyms. And the one thing you always seen was when you train these people, you're pushing them really, really hard, like to the point of nearly breaking them. And then you get a message the next day saying like, listen, Mark, I'm not going to be able to train for at least 3 or 4 days. And it's like, hang on a second, like you're paying me for a service, you need to be here. But I never realized, okay, hang on a second, these people are in severe pain. There's a reason why they're in pain. They need to be able to recover. And I was always wondering in my head, why does it take them nearly 4 days to recover? And this is when I realized, okay, about DOMS. And I know we were taught this in college, but I didn't realize, okay, hang on a second, to the point where we can never actually experience this anymore. And that was the biggest thing I took out of this. The biggest thing I took out of this was the DOMS. I couldn't believe, because I train really intense in the gym, like really, really intense. I'm just in the gym, get the workout done, and I'm out. And when I used to eat carbohydrates, it took me nearly 48 hours, nearly 72 hours to recover.
It's wild.
And now I can just go, I can do a really, really good session today. And I know for a fact I'll wake up tomorrow morning and I could easily do that workout again.
You know, before I went on the carnivore diet and before I got sick, I did, like, you know, like they were doing this 100 push-up challenge type thing and all that. And obviously before the carnivore diet, I was still eating quite a bit of carbs back then, gone back up a bit a few years ago. And I thought, okay, well, let's do this. So obviously you hadn't exercised for a little while. And I thought, okay, well, let's go 100 push-ups. And the next day and the day after that, it also took me about 3 days. But after that, like I could hardly move. Like my muscles were so stiff and sore. And I'm like, how stupid. You're getting older now. To go do a challenge like when you haven't exercised is ridiculous. And like even yesterday when I was exercising, 100 push-ups was no problem and in a short matter of time. And you do that multiple times. And the next day, like you said, Mark, you get up, you're not sore. 2 days later, when DOMS used to kick in, you're not sore. And you're like, that's happened quite a bit. And it's a matter of, okay, you know what? there's clearly something to the way you eat and how the body's responding with regards to DOMS. And when you see other people say, "Hey, I went to gym, but I'm like so sore today," and you're like, in your mind, you're like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Can I just add one more point as well? And then when you look at what we've been told to do when we're finished our gym sessions, like jump in the ice bath, take your protein, take your oats, take your glutamine, it's just all shit basically. It's just like, okay, what else do you want to throw at me?
Because this is nourishment.
This is what I was told. I used to spend a fortune on supplements to help me recover, and I was told everything. Take the glutamine. Glutamin's going to help you recover. Drink your protein shake straight after your workout. That's going to speed up recovery. Make sure you go home, fill up on carbohydrates. That's going to help you even recover even faster. Holy shit, man. When I look back at what I was taught and what I was told, I was like, no wonder I was so inflamed. No wonder I was so in pain, because none of this shit was going to work. Nothing.
Yeah.
And Byron, when you're talking about this too, like, coming from I think, in my opinion, this is a big deal with our health space, is you're talking about healing. So when you talk about what you resolved or what started changing after 30 days, you can relate that to recovering from a workout. We don't look at it like, okay, this is recovery. Oh, and this is a disease that I can impossibly fix. But it's healing. And it's just showing you like the whole body is healing. And how did you feel when the doctor said, well, there's not much we can do about it? Like,
well, when they weren't finding results and you're telling them something, like initially they thought, oh, it was a stroke that I had because of the symptoms that I was having, because I'd had limbs that would go numb, left arm, left leg, sometimes both legs, tingling in the lips. And then, like if you look at your eyes in terms of focus, if they go out of focus, like drunk would be better than being the way I was dizzy, because the vision would go right out and you like couldn't see properly. It was like trying to look in two different directions at the same time. That was like obviously kind of scary, because you don't know if it's a brain issue, if it's something serious, if it's and especially if, like, I know obviously coming from the background I have as well, like tingle in the lips, numbness in the arms or legs, especially my left side was more affected. It was like, okay, am I having stroke? Am I having a heart issue? And when they couldn't find anything and they still did the scan on the heart and everything was perfect. So once they said everything was perfect, it's like, okay, well, that's fine. So obviously it's nothing of that nature. But then what is it? So it's obviously related neurologically. So what's affecting that system in such a way that they can't find anything with the scans and checking everything and showing everything's perfect? But I'm not, like, people eventually they would like think, okay, maybe it's in your mind or it's this and that. But there was other people in the hospital with me at the same time that were also having very similar issues. I had a guy next to me in the bed who was having very similar issues, except without the neurological part that I was having. It's a big rabbit hole when I look at all the other stuff regarding the pandemic, because that's what I think it relates back to ultimately.
Yeah.
And when I look at the research of some other doctors and medical professions that are finding issues related to that and have come out with issues like that, especially in the UK and all that, they have resolved a lot of issues. And then you found a lot of people detoxing their blood system regarding that as well. So the only, based off how things that happened during that course of the time, the only thing that I know from all the stories that you've seen around the world is that for your body to do what it was designed to do, and that's replacing dead cells, replacing broken cells. Like I used to say to a lot of clients, picture your body like a house. When you see cracks in the wall or you see certain issues, you get it fixed properly. But if you use bad cement or you use bad this and that, eventually that house will crumble or be in a state where it's not repairable and has to really be. And our bodies are pretty much the same. But how does that work? Like what you're putting in, if the cells that have been replaced aren't being replaced with quality cells, or the protein synthesis is not happening in a quality format, that can't happen. There has to be there has to be a consequence if you're putting stuff in your body that's not allowing your body to repair itself fully and properly. And when you then look at putting the right fuels in your body, you can feel the difference. Like it's like day and night. And obviously all those that have been on carnivore and eaten like this way for a long time and felt that difference, they understand it clearly. But when you talk to somebody that their abnormal is normal to them, they don't know that it's not normal until obviously it gets to a point where the body says, hey, I can't continue like this. And that's normally either through whatever medical issue you're going to have. And then when they change and they realize once they've been clean for a while, like we have, you start to realize, okay, well, that feeling that I was feeling wasn't normal. That pain I had's gone. That was, and you only start to realize that once it's gone, then you're like, hey, you know what? I haven't had this for a while. That's like gone. Like acid reflux has been told to people also, oh, that's normal. Okay, well, and then even people that have eaten carnivore for a while that still suffered with acid reflux, okay, well, are you still having coffee? Okay, you stop coffee for a while, and they stop coffee for a while, and then they see the acid reflux is gone. So you know that what you're putting in the body is definitely having the big effect in terms of how the body can heal itself and protect itself. As well, I mean, with saying that, my wife used to live on antihistamines, and especially when we moved to Ireland where there's a lot of pollen, her eyes would run in water like every single day. And it was like, okay, off to go get the tablets because it would help her. But when we started obviously having carnivore for a while, and after I think it was a month or 2 months, she her eyes stopped watering. And then she didn't take the antihistamine tablets, and her eyes still didn't water, like they were normal. And it was like we realized, okay, well, now you're off antihistamines. You're not having any pollen issues. So then it was, okay, well, obviously there's something in the body that is causing the body to suffer from those allergens. Of
course. Yes.
And it has to be oxalates and stuff. And obviously, like, I don't know if but reading this book.
Oh, man, for sure. Yes.
That there starts to explain like a lot of things. And then you start to think, okay, well, obviously these oxalates and everything that are going in our body over time are definitely having an effect with all this rubbish. So where we were told living on histamine because you got allergens and this is going to be something that you have to live with. And my wife hasn't been on that for almost a year now, those tablets. And it's like, clearly that's a lie.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, people think antihistamines are pills. And no, we produce those to prevent things. And if your body works well, like some people, you have a runny nose or you have some kind of breathing thing, and then you do an exercise. Your histamine response clears the thing and focuses on the danger. There's a natural process there that your body's trying to protect itself, and there's something causing it. Like when we look at these, like, common allergies like pollen, and like we just get told that, oh, it's you. But, I would argue kids from the time we're eating Gerber baby food and applesauce, that's probably what's going on with these common allergies that probably didn't exist 50 to 100 years ago. It's crazy. And how you say that.
When you talk like that with the kids now, I mean, something I watched this week with regards to Sally Norton, and that she showed interviews that she did.
Yeah.
The parents had, like, their children obviously suffered, and with like certain whatever rashes they called it, and then they wouldn't sleep and they'd be crying a lot, and obviously go to the doctors and they wouldn't get any satisfaction. When a lot of that was oxalate poisoning coming from the mother's breast milk.
Wow.
So you think about it, how many people are going, their kids are suffering with stuff and they're getting told the same thing. Oh, it's this and that. But if the mother's eating clean as such, and there's oxalate poisoning or just oxalate in general, because it's an overflow from the mother, like the baby's not getting the quality milk it needs. And the baby's suffering with these allergens and all this type of stuff, when in essence, if you knew what it was and you just cut it out, like, it's what you're putting in your body that's potentially causing majority of the issues that do happen.
But that's, when you're saying that too, and what I find with people is, their limiting belief system, or their indoctrination refuses to open up these possibilities. It's like, my kid's suffering. Maybe this could be possible. People don't want to hear it. It's like, there's no way the black pepper is causing my kid to sneeze. You know, it's just, and I come from like, I'm like you now, especially once you start to open up your mind to the potential of healing, nothing's off the table. And it's funny how these people get just shoved aside. You know, Sally Norton, I think she's one of the most brilliant people that I've come across, because, wow, you know, this could be a potential problem for a lot of people that have no idea that it's causing that much damage. And now that what you're saying, generationally, like the mother's passing this on. And, you know, and I'm sure it's a hard pill to swallow for people, because they're like, there's no way my breast milk could be contaminating my child. But what if it is? What if it's possible? You know,
and that was it. I mean, when she did those things and she helped those people, like, okay, well, let's reduce your oxalate intake. And then all of a sudden you see the baby improve like in a short period of time, and no more crying and sleeping well and all that. It's like, how can you not say that that's science? To me, it's physical science. It's not a matter of, oh, this is what colleges taught us, or this is what we have been told. Because when you hear everybody's response, it's everything that the main media, if you want to call it that, portrayed, and they keep saying, oh, it's just, oh, it's generational thing, oh, it's
anecdotal.
It's just, it's in your genes. It's, if your parents had it, you had it. And yes, there obviously are the very few cases where you've heard where that is a bit of an issue. But then if you look back and say, okay, well, how did those parents before live, and how did it affect their DNA over time, where you could understand that. But most of the time, or majority of cases, I think I really truly believe, based off what everybody's physical experience has been, and you can see the physical healings, is that it's definitely what's going in the body is the biggest key solution.
You know, and that's what they would call in the medical literature case reports. And once you call it a case report, especially if it's a negative one, it's suddenly accepted. This Florida story about the guy that ate a ton of cheese every day. And then they tell that the carnivore diet is bad for you. But we are thousands of case reports. And science has forgotten the value of anecdotes, basically. And that's just a pity.
And another thing is, like, we talk about this a lot. Like, when you look at what, like, Rhonda Patrick talks about this epigenetics above your genes, and then Bruce Lipton talks about epigenetics in a deeper sense, about like programming, how we default to programming. Why doesn't the epigenetics affect these like lifestyle things too? You know what I mean? Or these hereditary things that are just, oh, poor you, you're unlucky. Well, if epigenetics affect every other aspect of our life, maybe what we do to influence those genes makes the difference. And it's interesting how, you know, it's a great little perspective. So,
yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely, the carnivore diet has definitely been eye-opening. I mean, you knew nutrition was a key factor, like living keto, low carb, high fat diet. Even that made a difference in your lifestyle, made a difference in your energy and your body composition as well. And when you look at like how the carnivores just made it even that more optimal, it's like an athlete having that little extra thing to help them perform even better. It's a real thing. And people don't realize it. And when they have done it, they start to experience it. Then they're like, I mean, I know, like when I was hearing initially in the beginning, when I was hearing those stories and seeing them, it was like, is it really like that? I mean, it can't be that much of a difference, but it is. It's almost like having that little pre-workout, if you want to call it, to have the energy in gym. And it's like you exercise and you can feel your recovery rate so much quicker. I mean, not too long ago, I tore my calf, my right calf. And when I was a PT, I tore my left calf in I was late 30s, more or less around 40. And I tore my left calf in a soccer game. And that took like quite a while to heal. This right calf, I mean, within a few weeks, I was normal, almost normal again, able to do normal like calf races, all that type of stuff. Like, and I'm a lot older, and yet it healed quicker than previously to the left calf. So even in terms of that, you can feel how injuries or anything like that from whatever strain you get heal quicker.
Yeah, and that's something that I noticed as well. That in my 20s and 30s, I was a damaged person. Like I used to get like injuries like nonstop. I was like you, Byron. I played rugby for 7 years at a very, very good level, and I was getting injured on a regular basis. And it's not until now, in the last 4 years, I'm actually a lot better now. Like I don't get any niggles at all.
That's awesome.
And when I'm, because I put my body through an awful lot of damage, like you with fitness, and it just used to take me a long, long time to recover. But it's amazing now when you get older and you learn about this, like, and you understand it more. That's like, holy shit! Like I'm not damaged anymore. I feel a lot better. Everything just feels amazing now.
I know. I tell people I heal like Wolverine, and they think I'm like they think I'm screwing around, and I'm like, no, I'm actually like, you know, if a few years ago I slipped on the ice and had this big, like, I fell hard and I knocked myself out, and my face was out to here. I looked like Gimli, the dwarf from Lord of the Rings, and within 7 days, fine. Like unbelievable. And that was the first time, like I was about a year and a half into I was like, what actually, how did this happen? Like I am healing so fast.
Tell Byron about your dentist appointment, Tony.
Oh yeah. Well, I just recently got like a bunch of work done because I had this issue.
Yeah.
So he had to slice open my gums and do this stuff. Anyway, he said my gums were bulletproof, which is really weird because apparently I have this genetic bone deterioration that's stopped, but they had to do some work. So I got 5 teeth extracted, drilled in there, sliced open up like 20 stitches. I didn't take a painkiller. I had no painkillers, no Tylenol, no Advil. Once the freezing wore off, I was a little sore, kind of went zen and just kind of went, okay, I don't need this. I'll just, within 2 days, gone. No pain the next day, none. And the dentist, I saw him on 7 days later. The dentist like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. He's like, what are you talking about? How is this possible? And I'm like, I don't know, man. But yeah, I think we've all had those healing stories that are just like, and it's incredible. Yeah. And you know what's funny is my friends, my family think, oh, it's just you. You just heal well. It's like
you can't. It can't be coincidence that probably hundreds of thousands, at least from what we've seen and heard, are all experiencing the same thing. There's a common denominator, and that's the nutrition.
And that's the thing. Like we've had around 10 guests on this show since we've started, and every single one of them have had a story to tell. Every one of them. And
Byron, sorry, Mark, go on.
No, go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
Byron, you just said it, that I'm trying to do this thing, and hopefully we'll get a hold of you too. Is like, I want to put this thing together, but with us is making the impossible possible, because that's what. Sorry, Mark, to cut Mark off there, but all these people are doing, like, the doctors have said there's nothing you can do, or we don't know why they're like this. Like, it doesn't look good for you, and yet all this stuff is getting reversed, and it's different things. And it's like, like dysautonomia. People are suffering. And just for a little plug here, Byron, thank you for sharing. But if somebody's hearing this and somebody knows somebody that's suffering with these symptoms that won't go away, that are really hurt, share this, because you know what? We're not genetic freaks. It's a beautiful thing, right? We're just figuring things out. And, a lot of it's trial and error, and it doesn't happen right away, but you made the impossible possible.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, like what Byron said, it's not a coincidence. I mean, there's been so many people that have spoken about this. I mean, there's over 1 million people now that are doing carnivore, what I've heard. And every single one of them, I can guarantee I had a story. Every one of them.
Yeah. And it's usually non-scale victories. Those are the ones, like, Byron, how do you feel about that? Comparing like weight loss to what's happened in your healing. What would your advice to people be?
Well, like I've said before, health is more important, because at the end of the day, losing weight, in my personal experience, like I said, I used to be fit, playing rugby, doing sports 7 days a week, and put on a lot of weight. And that was fine, but losing weight's the easy part. Like, people don't realize how easy that is you adjust nutrition, but there's so many ways. Like, so whether you're eating just salads or you want to just eat protein or whatever, losing weight is not the hard part. The biggest challenge is obviously just making the mind up. Once you make that mind up, to me, that's like 50 or 60% of your resistance that's basically been beaten already. But losing weight, to keep it off, is the hardest part. And to me, by having a healthy lifestyle and putting the right food in your body's automatically going to want to lose that weight. Like, to me, weight loss is a side effect of putting the right stuff in your body. And that's from my own experience, and seeing that also with clients in the past working on low carb, high fat diets, just by putting the right nutrition in, that's the case. And from my personal experience, like when I first adjusted that and started to do, say, the low carb, high fat diet and just increase the protein, in 1 month I lost 10 kilos, and there was no gym. There was just walking and changing nutrition.
Yeah.
I walked 4Ks a day, so it was a bit of walking, but that's all I did. I walked 4 kilometers a day and just changed my nutrition by adding the right amount of protein, and I lost 10 kilos in 1 month. And the rest of the journey, obviously, I did over time, because we know in the beginning your body will lose a lot of weight, but then over time it will take longer and people don't see the results. So when I look at everybody online, I've only lost 2 kilos this week, I'm going to stop the carnivore, this and that. And I like, can you not realize that weight loss is not the primary goal? It should be your health.
Exactly.
And then the
100%.
weight loss will happen automatically. And like, I haven't used the scale for freaking years, because at the end of the day, my clothes tell me how I'm doing. And when that belt notch keeps going a hole smaller, and I've like gone 4 holes like smaller, it's like, I don't need to know a scale to tell me I've lost weight. And at the end of the day, I think the scale plays more of a mental game. And so, just to answer that question, like, weight loss to me is a secondary, it's a side effect of having a healthy lifestyle and putting the right stuff in your body.
I usually get that now when I give my clients the screening form, because I have on top of the screening form that we won't be focusing on losing weight at the very, very beginning. And all of them say the exact same thing to me, like, then why am I here? Like, why am I paying you? And I'm like, well, we're not going to be focusing on weight. We have so much to do. These people are coming to me with, like, they're on medication, they're type 2 diabetes, they're in pain, you know what I mean? They're taking medication for depression, they've got mental health issues, and they're coming to me just for weight loss. I'm like, listen,
but you think about it.
Wrong person.
But you think about it, it's because of all that main fitness industry that has been, if you think about it, that whole fitness industry, from a lot of that stuff has been fed from, okay, I don't want to get onto all that stuff online, but you know who's behind all of that mind pushing stuff. It's like everybody that comes is wanting to do, like, to me, bodybuilding is a sport. So if you play soccer and you become good at soccer, bodybuilding to me is the same thing. But the way that the bodybuilders have pushed all that, and not just them, but that industry, your normal person comes and they want to do bodybuilding type healthy lifestyle. And it's like, guys, like, realize that bodybuilding is it's an art form in its own, to sculpt your body and do that type of thing, even though we know there can be other stuff, but just in general. So everybody comes and, I want to go to gym and I want to do that. It's like, why do you want to train like a bodybuilder? Do you want to be a bodybuilder? And then they think of it. No. I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing in your life? Okay, well, then train accordingly and get your body trained according to that. Like a marathon runner, why would they want to go train like a bodybuilder to become better marathon runner? It doesn't. So the psychological factor to me is something I think is not focused on a lot in the health industry as such, where that's probably one of the, everybody's been like molded to think that fitness route and this lifestyle that's not maintainable. Because I mean, I've done a challenge as well, where in 3 months you go right down lean to like 6% body fat and you get like all nice and that, but it's not sustainable. It's not a lifestyle.
Yeah, and see that's that's the problem, because what people are saying is, because I put this up on a post yesterday, is that they're just looking at the body. They're looking at the six pack. They're looking at the women with the bum and all that kind of stuff. And what people don't realize is that we know that these people do this for a living, but most of these people are on enhancement drugs. They're on TRT. There was a lady that was cut out yesterday. I put it up on my Instagram that she was taking fucking Ozempic. She has over 5 million. She has over 5 million people that are following her, and for over a year she was lying. She was lying about how she lost the weight, how she has a ton of clients, and she's been basically feeding them bullshit for the last year, saying that you can eat this shit in moderation, you can still drink alcohol, whereas she was in the background, she was on Ozempic for the last year. It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
And don't worry, Byron, about calling out these, whatever we want to call them, because we're all about that. I think all of us feel that same way. It's like, we've got programming, indoctrination, poisoning, and it's all the powers that be or them that are, if they think that health, you think they're on your side, like, just, it doesn't take a I wish that would be the one thing people would do, is just, come on, man, look, just really follow the money, really look at our health stats.
At the end of the day, Byron, these people are calling us out.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you seen on social media in the last few months, everybody talking about carnivore? All the doctors are talking about carnivore. They're saying, like, listen, don't go near the diet. You have these nutritionists, these specialists, these dietitians every single week preaching, don't go near the carnivore diet.
Well, you see that, I mean, you see the gym that I worked at, we worked with a lot of medical professionals, we worked with physios, we worked with like even specialists and that trained at the gym, and they would like follow a lot of the guides that we do, the trade. But the physicians that we worked with then, they asked questions. Like, they weren't just, okay, we're just going to follow the system. They would ask questions. So we worked with some really great people that they wouldn't follow the status quo of the medical thing, because they would like, okay, you don't really need that. Oh, yeah, do that. Because they, like Dr. Anthony Chafee and some of these other professionals, they ask questions and they think, okay, well, if I've been doing this for years and it's not working and the clients aren't healing or they're not getting better, then surely there's something, I have to question that. Like, why is it not getting better, or whatever the case is? So, like, yes, the industry is like that, but I think a lot of the professionals out there are also, in a sense, ignorant because of the way they've been molded through college and through studying. And I think when you get put through a phase of not having to ask questions or question anything, then in a way, to me, it's like ignorance, because they don't know, they think they're doing right. But at least if they start to look at other medical professionals that are actually doing it, the same as like they say, oh, how much money's gone into research for cancer, and yet we know there's so many people healing of cancer without chemotherapy, without radiation, which damages your immune system. Yeah. It's like there are people being healed, but that's been silenced and not shown in main news media, because obviously it doesn't make them money.
Yeah.
And yet there's doctors that go because they've seen the evidence that it works, but people kind of believe you have to have chemo, you have to have radiation. Where we've seen how many people with stage 4 cancer reversing that, healing it just through knowing what actually works, as opposed to just big money and damaging your body. And then most of the time your immune system has been damaged, and then you obviously lose the fight because of that.
It's even worse. They don't allow for additional treatment. So say that you do chemotherapy, they still feed you sugar and that sort of things, and they probably still do not recommend following a keto diet and that sort of things.
Yeah,
so they close their eyes for alternatives, and that's bad.
Well, go ahead, Byron.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, when you look at, like, you can see how the sort of system's designed. So, like, people go to the hospital. Like my wife, when she was in the hospital, type 2 diabetic. The very food that helps cause type 2 diabetes or makes them worse, they bring in that as a meal. And then my wife and I know, so it's like, okay, only eat the chicken, don't eat the rice that they've given you. Like, there's like a whole bowl of rice and a palm size of meat that's in there. And you're like, we know, like, if you put a monitor on you, that your sugar is going to be spiked, your insulin's going to be high. And obviously, like, they say, oh, aren't you hungry? You're like, no, I can't eat that. I'm type 2 diabetic. And then they look at you like confused. It's like they don't know. They just following that system. Okay, let's just feed you that. Let's just feed you. Then they bring toast and they bring other stuff. And I'm like, why are you bringing toast? The very thing that makes my wife a type 2 diabetic, you're bringing it there. And it's like, but then they look at you dumbfounded, like, wow, why aren't you eating it? It's like, do you not know that this is not diabetic friendly? And they like seem to not understand it. And that's where I'm saying, like, they're ignorant because of the way they've been trained, and they haven't been trained to question why, or okay, this and that, or find out, or even research further. I don't know. I get frustrated because you see things like that. And then when you see these other nutritionists online saying, "Oh, I'm a qualified nutritionist," and this is that, and then when you look at the meal plans they're giving to people, and you're like, if you're a qualified nutritionist and a type 2 diabetic's coming to you and you're putting toast and you're putting some sort of rice and stuff like that, and potato in the nutrition that you're giving them, I'm like, well, then how educated are you? Have you questioned the stuff that you studied? Like, you don't need to have a freaking degree. No. You don't need to have a degree to understand how. Yeah. Anyway, it's just
man. Byron, we're all there, man. We're like, I went 4 years of nutrition school to not write my exams and get my degree because it was bullshit. It was wrong, 100%. I had an ethic battle. Like, I was like, I'd rather just be privately helping people and showing them the way, as opposed to just indoctrination bullshit. And it's scary because if you look at a lot of the people that are against the carnivore diet, they have never suffered. They are either enhanced or bought. But I guarantee you, most of those people, if they get to a point where they are sick, ill, or something drastic happens, they continue with what they're doing. What do you think is going to happen? Nothing. You know what? They're going to take pills, and they're going to trust doctors, and they're going to not take because they, and I hope, in my, compassionate heart, they will come around to understanding that it's more than just what they're trying to tell us, but is that they're not too proud to try something that saves their life potentially, because it's going to happen. And I mean, it's only a matter of time. I'm still waiting for all of us carnivores to get cancer. I'm still waiting for us to drop dead of heart attacks. Like, it's been 4+ years for me now. So what's going on?
If there were even one of them, we would have heard it, because everybody would jump on it. Yeah. So that tells actually that the odds of getting these things on a carnivore diet are very, very low.
Yeah. But you go have a look. Like, I mean, it's just there's some logic that needs to be done. Yeah. And I don't, like, when you look at it, I really believe if you look at like the education system, and you look at how they've molded the education system so that people can be ignorant over time, and they've been doing this since before World War II with the education system. Yeah. Like, people think this is all conspiracy theories, but it's factual, because by creating ignorance, obviously people aren't going to question things. And when you go look at textbooks, and you go look at, like, even like with the Dr. Salisbury thing, and you look at how he used to examine the stomach microbiome, and look at all of that, and you'd see the evidence of what the body's doing. And it's like, yes, they were still trying to understand it, but why haven't they continued? I believe they have continued. So when you look at a lot of the stuff, a lot of medical literature has got this information, but they keep it out of the main study material, and they keep it out of the main stuff so guys don't see it, obviously, because it goes against the mold. But there is literature showing like how people have cured like almost anything just by giving the body the opportunity to. And this has been even before that. Like, cows, sheep, they've been around for thousands of years. The cave paintings of hunting animals, you can't tell me people haven't hunted animals and haven't eaten animals for a long time. And when you look at the physical evidence of the bone structure after the agricultural time, like in those books, there's so much there. And for people not to question it, at least look at it and say, okay, well, let's have a look. We understand everybody's different as well and unique. And like, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for someone else. But we know all humans are pretty much almost very similar. So majority of the stuff will work for majority of the people. And yes, you might have to approach it differently. But for some of these people to come out and say, oh, it's this and it's bad for you, it's like all they're doing is repeating what they've learned. And what they haven't gone to further look into the literature and look at the evidence. And they say, oh, I've looked at this study and I've looked at that study, but they don't go look at what's backed the study, the money behind it.
Yeah, and nowadays we have so many different variables. And once like nutrition opened up my eyes to the possibilities of what's actually causing harm. Light, chemicals, our modern day like systems. What's all this radiation doing to us? What's this light toxic screens and all of it? Oh no, man, it can't be that. And it's the same thing with nutrition. It's like, how can you not like look to the time before there was disease? What did we do? You know, but oh no, that's way too simple. Show me a study. It's history. It's anthropology. It's there. There's no cake paintings with broccoli. Like, just look, right?
Like when I posted something the other day, like I try not to go too much on that topic because I know obviously there's monitoring of it and all that.
Yeah.
But you just have to look up and you see the issues that are there. And then I had a guy comment as well, and it's all due respect because I don't know who he works for. When you look at their profile, there's like hardly anything on their profile. So he could be working for the industry for all I know. But at the end of the day, you can't tell me a contrail stays in the sky for the whole day and looks like a cloud by the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
And then you have those issues where there was a lady that they ended up using a plane and flying up behind these other planes, taking the samples out the sky and testing and showing that this is not normal.
Yeah, it's not
for what's happening.
Yeah.
So like, it's another reason why I say to some people that I know and I'll say, you know what, just health is more important than weight loss, because you've got all these variables that are sort of out of our control, and that if your body is running optimal, it has a better chance of surviving some of these scenarios because your immune system was built to react to certain things to help defend. And if your body's running optimal, it doesn't have all these other things that can potentially like not let it fight. Like, so you want your body to have the best chance.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, for me, it's like you're doing it for health reasons to go against or to help protect against all these other variables that are coming into play.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Byron, we probably we're pushing an hour here. We really appreciate you coming on. I want to appreciate and respect your time. How do people get a hold of you? And if you'd love to, I would love to have you back on, maybe co-host an episode of our Sunday Live. That would be awesome, because I think we're going to get along just fine, man. I'm in the same sort of, you know.
Yeah, I get passionate about it. It's helping people as a PT was something I used to enjoy. Seeing people have a better quality of life after improving certain things in their life. So I get passionate about it. And when people tell other people that what's working for so many people is not good for you, I don't know how many times you have to hit your head against the wall.
I think Mark has a term for that. Write that down. Yeah, that's good. Where can people find you, and how do people get a hold of you?
Just Carnivore Beats on TikTok. I have got an Instagram, which is just my name, Byron Funck. And otherwise I've created that channel just to create music that puts a bit of information out about the benefits of carnivore and that, and obviously just to give people something to listen to that keeps them in that frame of mind.
I may have to hit you up for a new theme song.
Yeah.
Boys, any final thoughts?
No, it's been great, Byron. And we should definitely do more of this, because you're well educated. You know what you're talking about, and it'd be amazing to have you on our Sunday Live show if you would be willing to come on.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy with that, and thank you for that. It's nice to be able to talk people that are like-minded and don't think you're just a conspiracy cuckoo theory.
Well, and have a whole other show about that stuff.
That's why we set it up. That's why we set it up, Byron, because we don't have that many people over here, as you know, that do this over here.
We have a rule. Me and my girl, we said no Bill Gates in the morning, because we just get really mad. We're actually going to start a T-shirt. Like, we're not allowed to mention them. Peter, any last thoughts?
No, it was very interesting to hear a story and all the knowledge that you have about carnivore. That's clear. And I hope to see you soon again.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, Byron, thank you so much for having us on, or coming on and talking to us today. Just a reminder to everybody, you can find Mark at Fitness Beyond Time 01 on Instagram and TikTok. Carnivore Evolutions on Spotify and YouTube. Those are Mark's. That podcast is one-on-one interviews. It's great. Find Peter at Dutch Carnivore all over social media platforms. You can find me at Tony_Food for Thought, and of course at TonyStewartCoaching.com. And the Meat of the Matter podcast. Join us live for live Q&A. We love your questions, comments. Please subscribe and like the channels. And please follow Byron. I'm going to link all his stuff in the description and get all this stuff. We will see you Sunday. Byron, once again, thank you for being on. Boys, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we will see you very soon.